So welcome to Behind the Scenes with
Rayfield
and Post. So thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. What we're trying to do with this program is kind of dive into a few things that go on at the legislature that you otherwise may not see in a news article or just kind of walking through the building testifying on bills. So a couple of things that we want to touch on today is kind of focus on a little bit of an educational piece, kind of show off some of the bipartisan work that's going on in the legislature that sometimes you're just not going to see in the news. We want to do a little bit of a historical factoid for you, and then also get into kind of a fun little fact about legislators and the type of apparel that they wear.
which should be interesting. Absolutely. So Dan, we were talking about educational a little bit, and one of the things that you and I have talked about in the past, and I think would be interesting for people watching this, is what do you do about a bill or an idea that a constituent comes to you and you kind of go, ooh, really? What do you do?
Well, and the interesting thing about this, sometimes in the media, what ends up happening is you might see a bill that you go, holy moly, why would someone ever file that bill? And a lot of these stories are sometimes a result of a constituent. And you have, like, at least from a personal perspective, the first time that I encountered it, because sometimes you have a philosophical opposition to the bill that's coming to you. And then there's a part of me that believes that part of our role as a legislator is to be a facilitator, to help facilitate someone gain access to the process. And that's the part that I've honestly struggled with, and I haven't really come to a good solution in my head, and so I've really defaulted it in that mediator role where I help somebody with an idea gain access to the process. And so that's personally where I've landed.
Have you had one, and I don't want to throw a constituent under the
Certainly.
bus or anything, but have you had anything where it was maybe not even philosophical, but you just said, wow, I don't even know if that's doable. Have you had something like that come up?
We've had a couple of constituent issues where we've tried to be creative in how are we going to help solve the issue within kind of our within our district, and so we've looked for outside approaches. There's nothing that has where the only solution was a bill that I was philosophically opposed to. Sometimes it's there's an existing bill that I may be supporting from my values-based position, but we don't necessarily align. And so our office will actually help them gain access. We'll say, here's how you're going to testify. Here's the right protocol for testifying in front of a committee. Let's get you hooked up with the committee administrator so we can submit testimony. So in effect, I mean, I'm helping someone lobby against my own values in some ways. But it's not like we're filing, in the legislature we have how many days a year are we allocating to various pet projects here and there,
Right. I had something, there was a constituent came to me without going into great details. It was a horrible situation, something that happened to his daughter in an accident, yada, yada. It's a long story, it's a horrible story. It's kind of what you were talking about. I didn't have to do a bill for it. I was able to put together a work group of people from various different entities that we solved the problem. So we weren't going to fix his problem because it had already happened. The accident had happened, his daughter was injured, she's good, she's fine now. But the work group was actually able to accomplish something, and that was kind of cool. So I didn't have to do a bill, but I was able to help a constituent. But then again, there's other things that have come up for me lately.
Oh, do tell, Representative Post.
So until about 2.5 weeks ago, I didn't know what a camellia was.
We know you like flowers.
Yeah, all the time. Art for me is the 4 dogs playing poker on velvet with Elvis next door. So I don't know what a camellia is, but a constituent, it just happened to be the mayor of one of my towns, came to me and said, do you know we're the camellia city, but not officially? Oh, I see. So you want me to do a bill for that? Okay, so I did. So now, and by the way, talk about bipartisan. It ran through the Senate rules, it ran through the Senate, it ran through House rules, it ran through House floor. It passed, and I was able to give the proclamation to the mayor and the consulate general of Japan in Newburgh last Saturday. So I'm really thrilled about that.
Well, and I have to say, I want to thank you because I saw a picture of a camellia in House rules, and so now I learned something, what a camellia actually is. But I think this is another really important point about what we do. You took an issue that may not have been the most passionate issue for you right here, but you knew that it was really important to the constituent in that moment and then addressing that. And I think that's another important role when sometimes we have these bills we file, and always kind of taken from that ground premise that we have so much going on, we have a huge budget crisis, we've got all these other issues, but for this person in this moment,
really
that
important.
Camellia bill
Yep.
was really important. So
we talked just now about bipartisan in using the Camellia, but talk about bipartisan. You have a great point about marijuana. I mean, what a controversial subject, depending on what county, obviously, and you have some numbers for that, but the bipartisan, I know everybody in Oregon thinks this is hilarious, the Joint Committee on Marijuana.
And honestly, can we get over that joke?
I know, I can't.
We have town halls all the time,
I know.
and it continues to get a laugh. I mean, at least in legislators, we may not be the most funniest people, but at least we have a go-to joke.
Yes, whenever you need to, go to that. But you wanted to talk about that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting idea.
So, I mean, media, we always hear about, kind of what I would say are kind of the few bills that really, the values on both sides may not necessarily align, and we feel passionately on one side or the other about these bills. Marijuana, I think, is this fascinating topic where we had this ballot measure, and in some counties it failed. People voted against it by over 60 some odd percent, and then in other counties it passed by over 60 some percent. And so we come into this legislative session in 2015, it's like, how are we going to implement this where you have members, legislators with these districts with feeling one way about it and members feeling the other way.
And let me add the one thing that what you just said, that was in 2015. When the voters passed ballot measure 91, they basically gave a box to the legislature and said, put something in this box and make it work. And I don't think people understand that. Well, we passed recreational marijuana use, but there was no rules for it, no anything, and that's what you're referring to.
Now, I did tell the speaker this was the one committee I never wanted to serve on.
Me too.
So we have another bipartisan agreement right here in this moment. But the committee that was assembled, high functioning, I mean, you had some really strong leaders on the committee. And what I think is fascinating out of this contentious issue of members from all these districts, every single bill that came out of there passed with bipartisan support. And so my office, I mean, to kind of emphasize that, I mean, and kind of really show you what that looks like on a piece of paper, we kind of came up with a couple of charts right here. So this one is just a bar graph, kind of showing you, the bipartisan support right there. We've also, in case you like pie charts.
That's good.
Yeah,
there's a sliver in there.
Well, yeah, well, that's just, apparently they do that. I don't know how that works.
So it's okay.
100% bipartisan here. We put it in a line graph all the way up at 100% there.
Wow.
And then my personal favorite, the scatter plot.
The scatter plot.
Scatter plot, right? It's just one dot right there.
Please don't explain it to me.
Okay, all right. Yeah, well, legislators aren't known for their math. Unless you're in Ways and Means, which is where I love to be.
Now, here's where we're going to part, okay? I was asked, do I want to be in a Ways and Means, a sub-Ways and Means, and I said, no. So far, the speaker has honored that, and I've appreciated that, because it would require great thought and mathematics, and that's no for me. So.
Well, as you know, with any job that we do, everything is so reliant upon having good staff, and so we're very fortunate.
Absolutely. So back to the marijuana for just one moment.
Please.
A good example of what you've been talking about. So my two counties are Marion and Yamhill. Both said no to Measure 91, not by huge margins, not like Grant County or something, but by a pretty good margin. And so they told me, Representative Post, we want you to vote along what we voted. So I've been a no on, I think, every marijuana bill that's come. I talked about the box, and we have the things now in the box. They come as bills. I've been a no on all of them except for one this year where it put it in the same category as minor in possession of alcohol. You remember that one was a week or two ago. So I voted yes on that. But outside of that, I've been a no on marijuana because my people told me you're no on marijuana.
See, I've been the exact opposite. I've been yes on everything except one. And I think what his, the last bill was 110 pages. I mean, it was intense, right? And so, I mean, you have to have a lot of faith. I mean, that's another interesting thing about the legislature. You have to have so much faith in the other people who are the experts in this area. So, I mean, in that group that was assembled, whether it was Carl Wilson, Andy Olson, Ann Leininger, Ken Helm, and I'm naming some of the House people. I apologize to all the Senate members. Jenny
The Senate
Burdick
probably
and-
won't watch
yeah.
this anyway.
Yeah.
No, they're the upper chamber. They deliberate more.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So, I mean, those folks, I mean, and being able to bounce ideas off of them and go to them, and when all four of them can sit there and say, yes, Dan, yes, Bill, we feel comfortable with this, you're going to vote your district, and you're going to respect that. But you can also respect that the policy that's coming out of there in a bipartisan fashion, it at least is, the communities across Oregon may not necessarily agree with the underlying policy, but we can say, hey, we're implementing it in a bipartisan and efficient manner.
And they did.
Right?
They did such a great job. All right, so you are as bad a history nut as I am, apparently, because Dan Rayfield found some history about this wonderful building that we work in. And I don't know about you, but every day I walk through the rotunda and just go, wow, I work in here?
Yeah.
It blows me away. But he found some real history.
So I like to give my own tours to constituents when they come into the building if we have time, and that, as you know, time is a luxury in a lot of ways. But one of the things that I absolutely love, and a lot of people don't know this, which I think is a fun historical fact, is that the marble in this building is actually the really cool thing. And out of kids, so when you've got kids coming to this building or other legislators, as you're going up the gray marble into either chamber, that marble is from Missouri. And one of the fascinating things about that marble is there's fossils in the marble.
Wow.
And so little kids, they love to find that, and it's like it's a big bright spot. And then you think, that marble's from Missouri. The rose marble, or the pink marble on the walls coming up on both sides, is actually from Montana. And then the white marble and the black marble on the sides is from Vermont. So we have all this different marble, 4 different marbles, 3 different states, and fossils.
The fossils. I didn't know that. So
That's the really
you're
cool
gonna
thing.
find me down my hands and knees looking around.
I can't wait to see if we see other people doing this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's presumptuous that people are watching this, but it'll be fun to see.
Our parents might be. I don't know.
My parents watch everything.
Oh, okay. So sadly, but that is the kind of stuff, and we're going to do this more when we do this. But other things, points of history.
Yeah.
So I won't do one now, but just know that the trip up to the Gold Man is worth there's no penny. It doesn't cost you anything. It's worth every penny.
Yeah.
So that's a part of history too. The thing that you talked about. I'm sorry. Did you have something more on history?
Oh no, I was to move into kind of the next time. I think what would be fun to do is get Jeff Barker down here,
Yes,
talking about the history of Hawaiian Shirt Friday. I personally have not worn a Hawaiian shirt.
I have. I do.
But it is a thing on Hawaiian Shirt Friday. So I thought it would be fun to get him and explaining, why this is, why this happened, where did it come from,
I know the
and
story.
when does it start happening?
I know the story. So
And
I
then,
will wait
and
and
then,
let him tell it.
being the whip in our caucus, I might bring up the House rules and have some fun with this.
Oh my goodness. And that is something we definitely are going to do on another show, is some of the protocol and rules and regulations, which are all really cool, of what we can and can't do on the House floor. I mean, people don't really, I think if you were sitting up in the gallery watching, why is he walking there?
Right.
Why? It's really,
Well, that's
it's
actually
important
really-
stuff.
yeah.
So I want to do that. All right.
But speaking of where,
Yeah. We have talked about things that you would never know about unless you were here. And that is, for instance, if you'll note right now, if you watch on the camera, I'm wearing a pin. He's not wearing a pin. So what's the story there?
so I have always, and there's not a right or a wrong way to do this, right? And I've just had a hiccup in my life. I've never been one for autographs, like I've always, or various things like that. And so when the pin, when I got the pin, I wore it the first day. And I looked at it, and you're very proud. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's neat. This is a big deal to be a legislator. The type of things that we do. It's one of the most fulfilling jobs I've ever had. But there was something it felt hoity-toity, elitist. It didn't feel because in honest truth, I mean, the people that work in this building are just as smart as us. Quite frankly, they know a lot of times they know more than us. They're an integral part of the system, and it felt like there's like a different level, and I honestly internally struggled with it. I like the pin,
like the whole everywhere you go, representative.
Oh, I can't.
I'll
the
never
titles.
get used to that. But we have to. the staff are told. I
know.
mean, they're instructed. You must call us representative and senator. And it's, no, I'm just Bill.
So, initially I didn't wear the pin, and I didn't even wear the badge. So now we wear badges. I do this, just so they know that I'm an actual person here. Because there are some funny stories about, riding up in an elevator and people have asked me, so who do you work for? Which puts me in the worst predicament ever. And I was like, oh, I work for Dan Rayfield. And then I get off and hope I don't see them again.
Exactly.
Because I don't want to make them feel bad, right? I mean, and they shouldn't. There's 90 of us. How can you remember everybody?
And that number is what's important. For me, I wear the pin because there's 90 of us that are given this pin every 2 years. And if you do the math, which I tried to do, but I really can't, there have only been about 9,000 people in the think about it, there are about 4 million people in Oregon now. So in all the history of Oregon, 157, 158 years, there have only been groups of 90. So it's only about 9 or 10,000 people have actually had the ability to wear this pin.
Yeah.
And I wear it for that reason, so that I can go like this. Oh my goodness, I'm one of them. Oh, wow, how could anybody make me one of that small group? And it humbles me, just like looking up at the rotunda just humbles me. So we're doing the same thing, only it's a little different, and we're doing the same exact thing.
And if I would give a fault to my approach, is it almost lends credibility to yours, where you can, I wouldn't say being informal. I tend to be a little bit more, just kind of straight talk, I guess, and the informality of not wearing the pin maybe is something that, you could criticize or look differently at, right? Some people, as you know, there are some people who've been around a while who have a different level of formality than others among other legislators.
I get a little picky about that. We have some people, I'm not going to name any names, but we have people who wear clothes. We're supposed to wear business attire.
Right.
And
that's the fun. We'll have fun
that's
with
the
this.
Aloha Friday thing.
We'll have fun with this.
Yeah.
But the other fun thing is, some people don't like to wear ties. Some people wear sneakers.
Yep.
And so it's in theory, we were elected by our constituents to do their work and represent their values, right? So there is an argument to be said.
Yes.
Wear what you want to wear as long as you're doing good work.
But it goes back to what I was talking about, where we'll maybe spend some time one day on the protocols and the rules and all that of the House floor, and I assume the same thing on the Senate floor. So it's a fine line to walk. It really is. There are days I would love to just wear my jeans and my boots and a T-shirt or something, but it's just not the protocol.
Yeah. Well, and when I got elected, I made a conscious decision, actually, in consultation with Tobias Reed, and kind of, because you ask these questions,
Oh, yeah.
what do you wear exactly all the day? As you're new, I made a conscious decision that every day is a suit and tie. That's just the way that I operated, and that's the way that I wanted to move forward.
But the bow tie, though, you were wearing a bow tie for a while, and it was great. I I don't even know how to tie one.
I do like bow ties. It is sometimes I do worry that you lose a little gravitas with the bow tie.
You think so?
Like I should be out doing balloon animals in the rotunda as opposed to in the bill legislating. So
I don't think that at all. I think of an old newscaster or something. I don't know why. It just, to me, it's class. I like it. I think it's cool. I wish I could pull it off. I can't. Maybe it's because I don't have hair. Maybe if I had hair, I could do a bow tie.
We could change that. I've seen commercials.
Yeah, I've never mind. Let's not go there because I've tried everything. So what do you think? Have we hit everything?
We've gotten through everything. We have a couple of fun ideas that we've been chatting about, kind of looking at other aspects, educational pieces, some historical things that hopefully will be enjoyable to people, or at least be interesting and give you another insight. That we hope to do that as time goes on.
And I would say, we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but maybe people have suggestions.
Well, that's a good idea.
And of course, we're on Facebook Live right now, and there may be people asking questions, so I'll look later. But if you have a question, post it to the Facebook page. I know that's my Facebook page for now, but maybe we'll come up with something where people could send a general email or something. I don't know. We'll come up with a Gmail.
And what do you think, Jay? Should we do a behind the scenes of the behind the scenes?
Oh, I think, here we go.
Come on, let's do a behind the scenes of behind the scenes. This is Jesse Smith, one of the amazing people in my office, keeps everything running. Look at this. This feels a little Wayne's World-esque, don't you think?
I feel very Wayne's World-esque.
Yeah, okay.
Party on. Excellent.
I don't think I could say that. Ooh, you have to do the sound. Woo, 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 woo. Oh, this is,
Okay.
we've gone
No,
too far.
We've gone downhill quickly.
Yeah.
So we'll try it again. What, are we a week, 2 weeks? When are we doing this?
Yeah, well, as legislators, we have to calendar these things.
Yeah.
So.
So maybe, again, we'll see. If 3 people watch this and they all hate it, you'll never see this again. But if it's successful,
Well said.
then we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. So I'm Bill Post.
Dan Rayfield,
Thank you for watching Behind the Scenes.
take care.